going from my mess to my message and saying, hey, I'll never, ever be disappointed. Why? Because of this.
Welcome to the Elite Few podcast, where we explore the fabulous, extraordinary world of the people who move the needle of success. Join our host Tiffany and producer Kyle as we dive into the stories and insights of the elite few who are making a difference and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Let's get started.
All right, everybody. Today's show is going to be a surprise for Tiffany on the Elite Few podcast, where we, of course, bring in elite few people that make a difference in this world. And today we're going to have a guest on as soon as he gets into this Zoom meeting. We're on Zoom this time, a little bit of a change up, but he was unable to and you'll understand why in a few minutes, why he has to do things through his phone. And we've got him connected on Zoom today. He'll be in a few short minutes, but just wanted to say hi, Tiffany. Good to see you.
Hey, hi, everybody. It's great to see you again. I'm so glad you're joining us.
Yeah, we're going to, today's episode is a little off the cuff. Tiffany has never even done a pre-screening call with this man that's coming in. And I can't wait. It was the first time I met him, I told him kind of an idea, because Tiffany likes to be spontaneous, as we all know. Of course, Tiffany has to put on her Sunday joking instead of her Friday night joking today, though. So as soon as he's able to get into this room, we'll bring our guest in and go from there. Tiffany, do you have anything you want to tell our listeners and viewers? I mean, we are on YouTube. I mean, that's why we're videotaping this.
No, just excited. Let's join the show and see what's going on. I can't wait to meet Leon.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
But then you can't see me, I bet.
Yeah, I can't. Can you hit the video? You probably have your video muted. You on your cell phone?
Absolutely.
Yeah. You should be able to just hit your video now and it should just pop up. Yes.
Man, we did it. I apologize for being so blind.
That's staying in. We're not taking that out.
Oh,
that's why I told her we're sitting here and you know, Tiffany's saying a prayer to make everything work well and everything. And she's like, and I said, well, you know, I said, he is what, 90% blind? Is that what you are?
Yeah, I'm completely blind in my right eye. But the RP is still in the left. But yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy, right? So I was like, well, you know, he's mostly blind. So we'll just keep on working through it, right? But yeah, so real quick, how I met Leon was one of Tiffany's very first one of her very first boosts on Facebook. When we first started the show back in August, Leon made a comment. And I think you just clicked on something. Maybe you didn't see what you were clicking on, but things happen for a reason, right? And so I reached out to him. We struck up a conversation, found out that he was a comedian out of Oklahoma, right? Or Tulsa, Oklahoma, right?
Yeah.
And I said, oh my gosh, him and I had a great idea. We wanted that day, Tiffany, that day we were going to call you and just completely sabotage you and just like you love things that are spontaneous and surprises. So we were going to surprise you that day, but then his day got busy. My day got busy. We couldn't get a hold of you and it just didn't work out. But it was funny how this came out. And now we're about 3-4 weeks from that first meeting. And now we're getting the pleasure of finally meeting Leon the Jokester. Can you you have any questions, Tiffany, for now?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, Leon, go ahead and tell us your whole name. Give us your background. This is going to be a fun, a time for us to just joke around and have a fun episode. We've had a lot of serious episodes, and I think we need one that's kind of fun. But
okay. It'll be a lot of fun. Okay. Well, the short version of the story, since Zoom had killed half of the interview, the back end is that I wasn't born blind. To go back to what Tiff had originally asked, my mother is completely blind. My grandmother's completely blind. My three aunties, and my grandfather, everybody has this same eye disease. It's hereditary. It's called retinitis pigmentosa. And what's so crazy about it is you don't look like you're blind until you ask someone for their car keys. And so that's a beautiful thing, because, you know, it's already bad enough to, if you're vision impaired, you have to deal with so much. But when people look at you, I don't have to worry about people judging me like, oh, okay, he's blind. His one eyeball's popping, hanging out the socket. It's not like that. So that's a blessing.
Right.
But I always say it's like cancer. You don't know someone has stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 cancer.
Right.
Right. To bring up full blown AIDS, but you don't know that full blown AIDS unless it's Tom Hanks talking to Denzel Washington in Philadelphia.
Right.
So I just said to myself, okay, I'm going through my life and I'm like, oh, it's not going to happen to me. And then you know how it is when you say that, it happens. So the thing about retinitis pigmentosa, it pops into your life when you least expect it. I know friends that were born with it. I know people who, for my mom, it was 16. And then for me, it was 33. And
Wow.
so I know a friend who his dad, it kicked in at 65. And so when it kicks in, it's like a slow death to the eyes is the best way to describe it, meaning that the older I get, the more sight I lose. So a lot of people are uneducated in America when it comes to vision impairment. Most people think, oh, can't you just go get glasses, Leon? Or, oh, Leon, just like there's all these other things that I've been told. Can't you have surgery? Can you have LASIK surgery? Can you do all these things? Can you smoke CBD for your glaucoma? All these crazy things, right? For me to be able to see. They don't understand blindness comes in so many thousands of different forms.
Right.
You glasses that will rectify blindness and offset the blindness. With me, you have to, there's a surgery that I can have, but guess how much it costs? $800,000. So I'm not LeBron James or Michael Jordan.
Yet.
So to get $800,000 is crazy to even think about it. And if I had that surgery, I think it's like 4 eye shots. They have like shots for the eyes, and then like I think it's like 2 in each eye, and I'm back to normal. But $800K, that's like going to Harvard twice.
Well,
so,
won't the insurance? So insurance doesn't cover that either, just for the public.
Yeah. The reason why insurance won't cover is because guess what? With RP, there's 19 different versions, and I have the 18th version. So they have a cure for certain versions, and because you know how doctors are, oh, I'm the inventor of the RP cure. So you're not going to say, oh, well, I could do it for $5,000-$10,000. He's the first doctor, so he's going to have to get paid. It's like inventing Pepsi or Coca-Cola for so 800,000 is what the price tag was told to me. And that was like 7 years ago. So it could be 5 million for all I know now. But long story short, I was working as a case manager, you guys, helping people with developmental disabilities for about 5 years. And then all of a sudden I went to work and I started messing up on the checks on payroll. And you know how CEOs are. If you mess with the budget, you're out of there. So I left on good terms. I told them, hey, I got to step down. The Channel 6 News came out, interviewed me. I put that on my website so people can see it on the videos and just kind of share my story. And then after that, that's how I said, what am I going to do? No one's going to hire a blind person. And I said, well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and step into the realm of comedy. And that's how it happened.
That's great. So the comedy, Tiffany and I always talk about, struggle and adversity and what comes out of that for the people that are what we do our show about, the elite few, fabulous, extraordinary world, and the people that make a difference. So for us to hear you and hear your story and hear the fact that you were running along on an everyday normal path of servitude, right? And then you have this, you have that idea of this could be happening to me, and then it does, right? And then you take that, instead of going down a rabbit hole and making I'm sure there was some time that you had to get your head wrapped around it. But then, what was that time frame between when you realized you couldn't do the normal job anymore and you said, you know what, I'm going to spin this, I'm going to put it on its head, and I'm going to create comedy from it, and I'm going to excel in this area, and I'm still going to be able to serve?
Well, I think just having the drive and the determination, growing up in California, you have to be a go-getter. Living my life in St. Louis is the show me state. So they show you 7, I got to show you 8.
Love the Lou. I love the Lou.
Yes, left the loop 314. So I had this mindset that like I'm not a quitter. I'm never going to give up no matter what challenges come my way. So when I came out here in 2004 to Tulsa, Oklahoma to attend Oral Roberts University, I said to myself, okay, well, I saw little I saw small stages on Kyle that like I was like, man, am I seeing things? You know, like because remember, RP is gradual. It just
Right.
gradually starts eating away until you go see an eye doctor. So every time I went to the eye doctor, they just said, hey, we see a small tear in your retina in the back, but nothing that we'd be concerned about. So I said, okay. So I just kept going through life. But when those obstacles started to become a bit much, I said, oh, wow, man, I'm actually vision impaired. Like this is a real eye disease. And from there, that's when I said, okay, let me like rearrange some stuff and get my life in order as far as what am I going to do to provide for my wife and son. And that's pretty much in a nutshell how I said, okay, let me go ahead and start the comedy. I took like a class for like a month and a half and I loved it. And then I got approved for disability. So that was kind of getting me above. But then my wife is a school teacher. So we're just putting our minds together and saying, we're going to make it work. And then, 7 years later, we're doing it full time for a living now.
That's awesome.
I went to Earl Roberts University years ago when I was like 23. So that was 10 years ago, Kyle? And
Yeah. 10, 20, 30, whatever.
yeah.
Tiff, when you went, did you see my brown hands in the front of the college?
I climbed those hands and went inside them. But I
Tiffany, we talked about this.
Leon, because every student does. I do not feel that you have visited as a young person or worked college there if you did not climb those hands.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true. Yeah.
There's a blind man.
Has no idea. He's like, what hands?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
They're giant. They're like the size of a giant tree.
But Kyle, even Stevie Wonder can see those hands.
Yeah. And we were all there for auditioning for something.
Okay.
And it's late, young kids in their early 20s, like, what are we going to do now? Because we got to go find something to do to get in trouble. So we ran out. I mean, of course, it was the 90s, right? So last century, we didn't have anything like cell phones or.
Yeah, to record us, right?
No, we had not. So we were.
Thank God.
I know. So all went out and helped each other, climb up like little ants. And we just climbed on top of each other until we got up there and pulled each other up. And then there's a hole, as Leon knows, and you go down inside, and it's like a cave thing. It's actually really cool. And they technically don't want the kids doing it, but they really can't stop you because the guards are all down.
Well, they'll give you a $50 fine in a heartbeat because it's mandatory that you go to church. And I was skipping church my whole 4 years when I was there. And so they make you. So it's $50 every time you skip, and you have to like sign in and everything. So yeah, I was a heathen at that time.
Well, I went to World Harvest Bible College and I skipped a few things to go to classes, especially.
Did you get fined?
What?
Did you get fined?
No, they were not fining at that point, but I found it very interesting. Yeah, I walked in fully intended to go to class. I walk in and I was late as usual. And these guys were standing there I was friends with, and they were on their way out. I said, where are you guys going? We're going to Magic Mountain. I'm like, turn around. I'm like, I'll go with you. And of course, they had to wear, how they make at the churches, they make all the women dress in these dresses like it's 1800. I did dress more conservative than I had ever dressed, being from last century. And I never dressed like those other girls because I had a fashion and I could not look like that. I was like, there's got to be a line where you have self-respect. And I'm not Amish. And I'm not, I was like, I'm not doing it.
And nor are you Mennonite, so.
Oh my God, it was crazy. Well, we do have Mennonites in Ohio.
Yeah, we do.
So no yoga pants and no New Balance shoes, and you're walking in holiness, I guess.
Oh my God, that's apparently the rule is if you look terrible and you have split ends, you are
righteous.
That's it. There's the righteousness. Yeah, Kyle knows I am a Christian, spirit-filled Christian, love all of it, got Jesus, the whole thing, grew up Catholic with nuns. I think, would you understand this, Leon? You get delivered from dogmatic bullcrap when you leave Catholicism. It's like you get out of that and then you go to a church and they're like, here's more dogmatic stuff. And you're like, yeah, that's not in here. That's not, that's not true. Yeah. Here's what the Bible's. No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So what's your when you do your stand-up, what do you have a different shows for different events or different venues? I've noticed on Facebook ever since we started following each other that you're starting to get some I think, I don't know, I didn't know you before, last month, but it seems like there's some pretty good momentum going for you.
Yeah, Kai. It's like the first 3 years was horrible, guys. I have to give it, I gotta keep it real, man. The first three, I've been in the game 7 years doing comedy, and the first 3 years, I mean, like comedy is so crazy because you come into stand-up comedy, like, everybody in America says, oh, if you're funny around your friends, you'll be funny on stage. But now, and like, funny around your friends is funny around your friends, but on stage in front of 500 strangers, like, you better figure out what's going on. In the first 3 years, I mean, the worst story I've ever, the worst experience ever was at the Shrine downtown Tulsa. It was 2016. It was like 20 people in the crowd, and I went on stage, and all I remember saying was, "How you guys doing tonight?" And then like 2 people said, "Yeah, come on with the jokes," and I forgot everything.
Oh,
My
man.
mind blank, and I had rehearsed, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!" So then I didn't know that trauma in that moment can make you step 3 steps like backwards and then just sit down. And I sat down on a speaker that just so happened to be on the stage, and I looked around at everybody and I said, that's my time. And then I walked off the stage. And after that, I made a promise to myself, always project forward and never shrink back when I'm on stage. And then I started writing. I started, really paying attention to the art form. And then from there, you guys, the momentum, like you said, Kyle, it started to grow. And then, but now we're teaching as well. I have like 7 different outlets where I can teach comedy, and then we're also on the comedy tour, Walk by Faith, Not by Sight, literally.
Yes,
and
right. And we'll put that link in the bottom. So.
Oh yeah. I really like what you just said. Always step forward. Always,
project forward and don't shrink back.
So that's a manifesting role. I'm huge on that. I believe. I believe very, very, very strongly that the biblical principles back all manifestation beliefs. And I am putting together some stuff with Bible scriptures and manifestation because I'm really good at it already. And it really came up recently when I was talking to someone at church, and she's just, Leon, you know how you meet these people and they're got good souls, like they're better than us, right? And you're like, oh wow, you just got it. Like if I could walk in God like that, I would be like taking bears and killing people. I'd be all 2 Kings every day. Right? Like it's just, but they just are like always downhill. Like their life's a mess. And you're like, they're living in poverty. They're living in all these curses they shouldn't be having with the level of faith and belief they have. So I talked to this woman and I'm giving her Bible scriptures, and I realized she needs to project forward and not shrink back. But I also realized they don't know. And that's a huge manifestation technique, is you only project forward.
Right.
The moment you start even looking in that rear view mirror, you can falter. So what does your wife think about your comedy? Is she like all the other women that kind of find their husbands annoying after 20 years? Or like, how long have you been married?
Yeah, I've been married 15 years and counting. And she's like my probation officer because I can't go anywhere. Yeah, it's pretty tough, man. But, in the beginning stages, she's like any other a wife, like, hey, if comedy's not bringing home a check, you need to find a real job.
Yeah.
And so Yeah, so that process was very interesting, because then at that point I'm telling my wife, "Hey, is this funny? Is that funny?" That's the first 2 years of comedy for me. Babe, is this funny? Is that? And then everything is no, it's not funny, Leon. It's not funny. Tiff and Kyle are not gonna laugh. It's not funny. And so then I was like, "Well, who's Tiff and Kyle?" Manifestation. You'll see in the future. I was like, "How you know about future?" So. Long story short, she was like, she was praying for me. She was hoping it worked, but in the beginning it was tough. But then I think after I showed her a $3,500 check for a show, I think that's when she was like, "Oh,
Okay.
what,
Okay.
what's
Okay.
what say?
This might be a thing. I
Now do it
those
again. Yes. Then she's like, okay, well, when's the next one come?
Yeah." So I said, all you got to do is have faith.
Yeah.
So it was a process. Now, she doesn't mind taking me to the shows. She doesn't mind helping me out. She's giving me her honest opinion that, yeah, that would be pretty funny. No, don't do that one. That one's kind of lame. And so that's good to have her in my corner. And then my son, being 12 years old, he has that childlike faith humor. So he's like, "Yeah, Dad, you need to be more like, you need more act outs. You need to be crazy on the stage." So I was like, okay, so I'm learning that from my son, how to improv and do act outs. And
Yeah.
then with my wife, I'm learning how to make sure the content hits hard for everyone. And so that's when I got into teaching joke structure and like 7 different elements of how to do this, 7 elements to how you can get the crowd over here to merge with this crowd. And because a lot of times when people see the comedy, it just looks like we're saying 1 or 2 words, ha ha ha, it's funny or not. But once you start getting to the flow of it, you will realize, oh, I'm supposed to say this, so then I can get the reaction over here, and then you switch this over and move that around, and before you know it, now you're doing stand-up. But it takes a while, though. It does. It's taking some time.
you have 2 crowds. You have the adults and then you have kids. And those are different jokes, obviously. Even well, we all know from Sesame Street, they throw in a lot of stuff that you have to be an adult with your knowledge of history to laugh at. But
Cookie Monster, cookie.
Will
Kyle,
not eat that cookie.
but I mean, that's got to be, you got to have 2 separate joke. You got to have 2 separate scripts there ready.
Well, Tiff, what happened was, I tell comedians this all the time. In order to find your audience, you probably need to get in front of a lot of different audiences. So with me, when I first started, I started off in the nursing homes. I said, let me go to the forgotten people in America. Like I'm in the nursing home looking around. I'm like, man, when's the last time y'all had a visitor? They said, man, it's been a while. So I started there. Then I said, well, let me go impact people in the public school system. So then I learned how to write material for them. Then I said, let me go help people in recovery centers. Then I wrote scripts there. So before you know it, you merge it all together. It's like martial arts. I have like multiple different, it's like a mixed martial arts. It's like you have a little bit of the high school shows, a little bit of the college. I've done homecomings. And so I took that knowledge and then I added a little bit of the nursing home, then some of the church shows. So when you put it all together, I can now go in front of any crowd and make it work.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So when are you coming to the Central Ohio or the Orlando area? I'm from Central Ohio. Tiffany's originally from Central Ohio, but lives in Orlando now. So when's your national tour?
Well, when LeBron James signs the contract and starts managing me, then we can get that money behind me. And then Floyd Mayweather, waiting to hear back from him. But you know how it's.
I wouldn't rely on LeBron. He's got some things going on in his life that he needs to focus on. But you can make your own. You can make your own. You don't need LeBron, man. You can do it on yourself.
That's true. That's true, Colin. Thank you for that compliment. But living here in America, I've learned, Don King, that you have to. Let me fix my Don King.
Yeah, you're Don King. Yeah.
And so what I learned is that you have to get into being comfortable with the yeses and the nos at all times. Every opportunity that's come our way, I believe that God has definitely opened that door. Even this is a door opener for me to be able to share the story, share the journey.
Right. Right.
But I realized is that you have to become a really good receptionist for your branding. So I don't have a problem calling people. We call it cold calls. I don't have a problem calling people and asking, "Hey, man, would you guys be interested in allowing me to come and share my story on stage in the form of humor?" And they'll say yes or no. When you first start comedy, you're a little upset when you hear those no's, but in business, you realize that the no's are going to come, but you keep going, And then what God has revealed to me, Tiff, will like this. I made a covenant with God 7 years ago when I started comedy. I'll never, ever be disappointed. Why? Because of this. I told God, I said, whether I get booked for one show, 100 shows, 1,000 shows, 1,000,000 shows, it's all for the glory of God. So I'm never disappointed. If someone says no to me coming to share my testimony, then that means I'm not supposed to be there. Because just because it's a church doesn't mean that it's always going to be good. I've had churches that say, "Hey, Leon, great comedy show. We'll pay you when the rapture happens." The rat? What? I need my money now, Pastor.
And he's not talking about the Blondie song.
Exactly.
So that's what you do. Next time someone says that, you pull out your phone and be like, "Well, the Raptors happened. Listen,
So with that being said, you guys, I'm like, okay, just because it's a church doesn't mean that they're going to say, because even when I first started, my whole website was all about the church. And then I realized that you don't get booked by the church because you have faith in Christ. You get booked by the church because you signed to a management company or a booking agency that manages Christian artists. And I didn't know that.
Gotcha.
I didn't know.
Okay.
So I talked to some like multimillionaire management teams in Nashville, Tennessee, and they told me the ins and outs. They told me how to do like 15 million different things to make stuff work, and that I had no idea. So when they call a church, they can get $50,000 out of the church because they made the call. If Leon the Jokester makes the call, they're like, 50,000? What are you talking about? You mean $50? Right. And so that's important it is in America to have representation. And so representation means everything with your business, because if you have people that can vouch for you, people that can pick up that phone, Tiff, if she can call Disney World and say, "Hey, I know this guy," because she has those connections, that's how you normally get in the door. Not to sound overly spiritual with it, because some people are still waiting. There's Christians still waiting for Publishing Clearinghouse to knock on their door and give them $1 million check. But the Bible,
you still gotta follow the line.
Yes, but the Bible I read, God said that I gave you hands to work, so get to work.
Yeah. Thank you. Amen. I want to say you got to watch out if you're in business and you're working with churches. And like you said, you got to watch out. I have several friends who are very well in their field of what they do. I mean, awards, the stamps, everything, and have shown up where people were like, "We're actually not going to hold up with the agreement we gave you." And I am shocked when I hear that. And it is something you have to expect. You got to make a decision. And I know for this particular person, they chose to move forward based on the fact that there were people that would be disappointed and their heart was good. But it was the management company involved was not liking it and mad, not just because they weren't getting paid, but that's, if I'm in a management company, I don't really care. When I did Guardian ad litem work, I didn't care if the parents were Christians. You're not getting your kids back if you aren't doing your job. You can't do this list. You don't get your kids back. Same thing with this. If you're not following the contracts, which God is the God of order. So sometimes you got to check yourself.
Yes.
I really, I think the older you get and the more experience, I should say more experience you have working in that industry, you find out, unfortunately, churches are not as godly as they should be. They like to check the list off. We match the nice things. We don't cuss or drink or do bad things, and everyone dresses in the appropriate wardrobe. So I do enjoy being a free agent and realizing what matters and doesn't matter. I'll admit I do skate on Grace more often than probably I should. But those are just on the things I choose. I do try on a regular basis. And then every once in a while, you know that song that says,
No, Tiff. No,
it says, Lord Jesus, I'm about to sin, but you better get my back because
Who's that? Who's that artist?
It's a rapper girl.
I was gonna say it's not a country song, that's for sure.
Oh God, no.
You don't like country.
Go ahead and what she's saying is cancel her Netflix subscription. Too many rated R movies have been in their household, so go ahead.
No, I don't get to watch TV anymore. I miss it. I'm too busy. Kyle sends me 1 million videos a week that's impossible to watch at the level he gives me. I was gonna say you just need, and this is true for everyone in the comedy or music industry, right? You just need that one video. Remember, Matt Rife tells the story how he'd get 10,000, 20,000 hits. It was like not, a lot, but it was more than what he was doing decent. Yeah. And then he sent this clip out that he didn't even think was funny. There was 20 people in the audience there that night. 20 million views.
Yeah.
Overnight. Ridiculous. Yeah. And then that just shot his career up. And it's that kind of switch. But I do believe 100% that comes from that moment. I call it the Thanos snap. And I talked to somebody recently who's a minister. I've known her for 27 years. And I said, that Thanos snap where it just comes together. You're working your butt off, turning every wheel you can physically and mentally do. Nothing's happening. Mm-hmm. And you take a breath and it's as if God snaps his fingers, parts the waters, and you do nothing. And it all just falls into place. And you're just like Indiana Jones walking on that wall.
What do they call that? You reap what you sow. So if you sow the good, you'll reap it.
That's not what that is, because I will tell you, knows this too. God will bless you beyond that. David, Leon? David messed up pretty much all the time. The only time he didn't mess up was when he was like, 10, killing a giant? Yeah. I mean, the moment that boy got hormones, it was all gone. Like he just messed up pretty much walking down the street, that guy. But God did not take his hand off of him. He's like, when you have favor, it goes beyond reaping and sowing. It goes beyond anything. And it's not something you can explain or put your finger on. And I'll hear people go, because when you live in holiness, I'm like, bull crap. See how I dialed that back there, Kyle? I just want to point that out real quick.
Yeah.
We're with her, Kyle.
Yeah. I'm like, look, the bottom line is, it is nothing to do with what you do. People forget it. And I'm going to jump in on this, Leon, and let you have the mic back. I apologize.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
You know, as well as I do, not one of us is going to heaven because of anything we've done. It's not the goodness we do on this earth. There's nothing. Our righteousness is filthy rags. If there's anything, and I love it when people tell me, well, I set my life aside so much that I really don't sin. Oh my God, that's amazing. Because the Bible says we are all under sin. Every day we need to renew our life in Christ. But that is great that you're an exception to literally what the Bible says. And you claim to believe it. That's amazing. You're an idiot. But I literally am like, it is every day. We are a complete mess. Every time we think we've nailed it, no, you're not. And my biggest encouragement is recognizing that, everyone in the Bible screws up pretty much all the time. They're just like big messes. Even Sarah, remember Leon laughed when the angel came to her and said, you're having a baby. Yeah. She laughed and an angel of God was like, yeah, okay, dude, you are drinking that heavenly juice a little too hard. You need to roll it back. Yeah. And I mean, I just think like and she's the one who caused the Ishmael situation. I know I'm going off on my stuff here, Kyle, but I have a big message I've always given my son, and I apologize. I actually don't apologize. I don't really care. People are probably going to be offended, but it's a true message, and you've got to be very careful Because if you move outside of God and what he's told you, not even just everyone's like, oh, follow these rules. Okay, that's great. But when God speaks to you and says, do this, you freaking do it. That moment. And when you move outside of that, and then Sarah took things in her own hand and told Hagar to have sex with her husband because she's like, that angel don't know what's going on. I got this figured out. I'm in charge. Yeah. I'm the woman of the house. And she was Jewish. So we all know she wasn't like a meek little quiet woman. My son hates it when I say it like that, but I'm like, they didn't change. The women, Jewish women didn't change in the last 2,000 years. They're still the same. Yeah. Sarcastic, dramatic, the whole thing. This is my house. Not different. So she's like, listen, this is what's going to happen. I'm tired of waiting. We don't got much. I could die tomorrow. So go ahead and do this thing. And she created an Ishmael that to this day still competes for the seed and the blessing and the inheritance that belongs to them. To this day, there's still a problem because of that mistake. It doesn't. So you got to be careful in your own life to do that, because honestly, that Thanos snap, all you need. It's not even reaping and sowing, although I do believe that's really important. And I believe I've had many Christians try to tell me that karma and reaping and sowing are different, but I've lived long enough in the half century plus that I have been alive at that to see that it's not true. When it comes after you, you're going to get it. But if you are covered and walking in favor because what you're doing is necessary, like Moses, he screwed up a ton of times. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't get me wrong. He did send an angel of death after him for being disobedient, but we kind of don't have to worry about that today because we got the grace thing. But thank God every day. But but the point is, you just need that Thanos snap. Yes. You got it. That's a long, drawn out story. Kyle's gonna be like, Tim.
I was getting ready to start playing I was getting ready to play the music, like get off the stage music.
Yes,
oh, not the Apollo.
There, I'm throwing the Apollo music onto it.
No, but remember, Tiff and Kyle. I don't know if you guys know this, but like with Matt Rife, again, a lot of people didn't know this, but the reason why he went from like low views to like all of a sudden overnight after that one video,
plastic surgery. Yeah.
And then of course, and then having like 200 shows booked for the next 2 years, that came because a lot of people didn't know he's on MTV Wildin' Out. So he already had management behind him to be able to. You're already on TV, but people don't pay attention to you. They're paying attention to DC Young Fly, Chico Bean, and Carlos Miller and the other cast. So he was in the background as like that Caucasian kid that's like, nobody knows who I am. But now when the management gets behind you, now you're out there on the forefront. Like, who is this dude? Because I watched some of his stuff and I recognized immediately there's no way he's just making that stuff up. When you're on Wildin' Out, you are writing and freestyling. So he just put that on the stage, and a lot of people are like scratching their head, like, how is he saying this to all of these people? That's what he does because DC Young Flies taught him through MTV Wildin' Out. So everything is kind of like smoke and mirrors, like what Tiff was saying, Kyle. It's like
Absolutely. when God, you're always working on it. Like
exactly. And when God is doing something, then like people, they better get out the way because, you know, when God does it, it's like, it's going to be like the same place Matt Rife is performing, the Cox Business Center. I'm performing there September 26th myself, but I didn't call Cox. People recognized the favor of God on me and gave me an opportunity to be able to go into the same venue. It's because God, going back to what you were saying with Abraham, Sarah, and Hagar, like she was crying out, El Roy. That means God sees me. God sees me. So with the whole Ishmael situation. So what I'm saying is this: God sees us. And when he sees, like man looks at the outward appearance, but God judges the heart. So when God sees us, he says, oh, I see, Leon, you tried to get into that mega church, but Joel Osteen won't let you. So I'll put you somewhere that's 3 times the size of Lakewood Church at the Cox Business Center. Because you weren't looking for fame and fortune. You know, Mark 8:35-36, what does a profit man to gain the whole world but lose his soul? So I'm not actually trying to be famous. or trying to be filthy rich. I'm just walking in that divine favor with Joshua. I'm ready to go into the promised land and do comedy.
Well, I'm just trying to not go broke at my age and keep the wealth I've made over my life. Because I am a couple years older than you, and need to make sure that in the next few years when I have to retire, I'm not living in Kyle's basement. So
well, don't get into comedy, Tiff, because there's no life insurance, there's no health insurance. You're on your own.
I'm not funny enough for that, but I do have no life insurance or health insurance right now. So I just pay it all out of pocket. I like it better that way. But I do feel like I'm not funny
I'll
enough.
give you my Obamacare card.
Well, you mentioned that you're going to be where you said in September. Do you have any other dates that you'd like to shout out to people? I think your show is going to be going live probably next weekend or the weekend after. So what about what is your September and October look like, if you want to tell our listeners?
Yeah. Like right now, I have I'm headlining this Saturday. I'm doing a show at the Black Wall Street Coffee Shop. September 23rd, I'm doing 2 shows at the Jokes Comedy Club. September oh my goodness, September 20. See, when you first start comedy, you say, oh, 1 show. But when things start rolling, you're like, man, where's the schedule at? But I'm gonna tell you this. September 26th is going to be the best show for September for me because of the magnitude, like the whole lifestyle of like God saying, hey, I want to put you on this platform to bless like over 400 people in the building. That's huge for me. But then October 24th, this one's going to be dear to me. I got booked. I called Orlando, Florida, Teen Challenge. And the guy told me that the only person he's looking to book is Gabriel, Mr. Fluffy Iglesias. And I said, man, but he's $100,000 a show. He said, that's my point. Talk to you later. And he hung up. I called the Teen Challenge in Oklahoma. The guy picks up. The pastor says, Leon, this is crazy. Like once we started talking, he said, you're not going to believe this. I was looking for a Christian comedian on a Gig Salad, and 23 people called me immediately. But you, for some reason, I'm supposed to go with you. You have a message for these teenagers. Are you okay with 400 students that are struggling with things? I said, man, I'm the man for the job. And so he was like, cool, you're locked in. And I was like, yabba dabba doo, I'm in the showcase too. And so then after that, you guys, I was like, okay, I'm going to be preparing my message, turning my, going from my mess to my message and saying, hey, this is what God has for you. This is the game plan. And I'm going to talk to him about the 3 stages of life. There's 3 stages of life for everyone. There's the higher life. This is where you walk in righteousness with Christ. All righteousness means is you're right with God. Then there's the middle life. This is where Genesis chapter 3, where Adam and Eve, they had ate from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. So this is where you're trying to reason with everything. Remember, higher life, I'm walking in faith. The middle life, I'm like, oh, is this good? Is this evil? Is this evil? Is this good? Tune in to Channel 6 News to prove that. Then the lower life is all the addictions that any human being can deal with in life. So when we are up here walking with the Lord, we can still stumble and fall to rock bottom. The 3rd stage is rock bottom. So that's why we have recovery centers, because these are people saying, man, I want to get out of rock bottom. Please help me. I have 5 different addictions, 10 different addictions. So then we tell them about Christ. And so it's not enough to be in the middle life, because the middle life is saying that, oh, I'm a good person. I do this, I do that. But Isaiah said, your righteousness are like filthy rags. So I want to be in the higher life when I die. When I take my last breath, I want to be in the higher life, because that's righteousness. And there's nothing higher than being righteous.
Right.
And so that's where we're at.
Well,
so my whole thing is the Teen Challenge show is going to open up the door for me to go and do more Teen Challenge shows, maybe in Orlando, Florida one day. Shouts out to Tiff for that. Maybe in Ohio. Shouts out to Kyle for that. I know that because a guy I think it's a Teen Challenge I called in California, he said it. He was like, he was the vice president, and he sent somebody to call me. And they said, have you done any Teen Challenges prior to that Teen Challenge? I said, no, sir. He said, okay, we'll do that one, then call me back.
There
So
you
we're
go.
going to film it, and then there you have it, that ripple effect.
Right. One thing you said there, Tiffany, we may be needing to change your slogan. He said, "I've taken my mess and to make it my message."
Message.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. I'm like, wow, that's exactly what this podcast is about. Tiffany was in a mess in the last year and a half, and we discussed about having a podcast to give originally it was just going to be a venting podcast about her mess, right? So now it's changed into finding extraordinary people that do extraordinary things for the good of everybody, right? That's why we call it the elite few, fabulous, extraordinary world, and the fabulous, extraordinary people that make change for others, right? Through their own success. So you're making your mess your message, Tiffany. I love that.
Yeah, I really think you know, I was already doing that. I was already meeting these amazing people all over the world,
You
and kind of
were.
talked
You
about
were.
it. Really need to have a platform to get these people on a show, or to even interview them in person and put it on something where people can see it, because I just come across these amazing people. And like yourself, Leon, you have a great story. You have a lot of adversity you had to face, but I have this saying that I always say: if anyone's heard it, it's mine. Don't steal it. My name under it, Tiffany Feeney. And it's that anyone who fails has 1,000 reasons why they couldn't move forward, but every single person who succeeds overcame 1,000 adversities to succeed.
Wow.
That just gave me chills, girl. Good job.
See?
That's
From
Woo!
disability to destiny. That's another one that I'm rocking with, man. From disability to destiny. Don't let your disability keep you back. We removed the DIS and disability, and now I have the ability to achieve any goals I put before me.
That's right.
There we go. Manifest that. That's exactly,
awesome.
that's literally a key. Look at you. You got all the manifestation. You got half the rules down just in this conversation.
Right. Well, listen, it was great to have you on. We're pushing right at that 40-minute mark. We like to keep them short and sweet and to the point. We're going to have you on again. We know it. What someday we may be.
Oh, I want to see your show.
Yeah, we want to see a show. And I also, too, Tiffany, now that we've got the technology to have a dial in, there may be times where I can text him and say, "Hey, we want you on our show real quick, just on the phone." And let's kind of surprise him sometime where we're doing our talking. We're like, we need to call Leon. Let's talk to Leon.
Yeah.
So Leon, once again, tell us how we can find you. Tell us how our listeners can find you. I know the leonthejokester.com, I believe, is your website. But anything else, go ahead and tell us your socials, tell us your full name, how they find you, all that stuff. Go ahead and do that, and then we'll wrap things up.
Well, thank you, Kyle and Tim, for this phenomenal opportunity, man. It's always great to be able to share my story with the world, man. Not just from Ohio to Florida, but all over the countries. And so, with that being said, leonthejokester.com, like Kyle said, and then when you go to the website leonthejokester.com, look to the upper right, and you should be able to see it. I won't see it, but you will. And it should have all my social media links there. And of course, Leon the Jokester is the link for everything. Instagram. I do have 2 different Facebook pages. And so, one is Leon Pearly, and then the other one is Leon the Jokester. And then I have the Twitter as well, Leon the Jokester.
I believe I just shared the screen to show the website. Let me make sure that it's good and I can pull things down. So this is me sharing the screen. If not, we'll put it in post, but we'll also have all of that information in our description below. Don't forget that.
Yes.
So
thank you, guys.
Well, fantastic. Tiffany, go ahead and sign us off. I'm super happy we finally got the 2 of you together. I mean, like I said, him and I have we've already been, because I told him my background, and we already started chawing at each other back and forth on text and a couple of phone calls, and we're just, I'm telling you, it's brother from another mother right there, guaranteed. Good guy right here. Go ahead, Tiff.
Thank you, Leon, for joining us. I'm really excited to have met you today. It's been so much fun. And we did need some funny attributes because we did too many sad shows in a row. I want to thank everyone for joining us. I love having you in my living room, my house. I love you having in part of my world. I love watching you join me. Please text, write in what state you're from, what city you're from. I want to know if you've seen Leon, if you've actually watched his show. If you know him, please let us know, and let us know what you think of the show. If you haven't watched our other shows, please watch. Also join us on Instagram, Facebook. I'm told we're on Twitter. I don't know.
We are. We just haven't
yeah.
put any content yet.
We're growing. We got this. So thank you so much, guys. Stay fabulous. Welcome to joining Elite Few. Come to our next show, and every Monday we have a new release. So watch today's episode that just came out as well, and talk to you soon. Thank you so much.